Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And today we're exploring resilient second chances and
Hmm.
using your voice.
Oh, sounds fascinating.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at this young woman, Mia, and she faced some just unbelievable challenges, things like homelessness and just a really, really tough restaurant environment where she was often ridiculed for her stutter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a tough story, but ultimately empowering too.
Mm.
So we'll see how she manages to turn her experiences into something really positive.
I'm intrigued already. It's interesting you mentioned the restaurant environment because the source material we have, particularly this article called Second Chances,
Yeah.
From Kitchen Chaos to Culinary Triumph by Sarah Thompson, really dives into like the psychological effects of, just workplace
Snake
dynamics.
broccoli and how it affects people's well-being.
Totally.
Okay, so let's get into this restaurant experience a little bit more.
Yeah.
We know from the sources that Mia's coworkers were just relentless in their mocking,
Yeah.
especially this one line cook. And there's even a quote from him where he says, "Can you pass me the pepper sins?"
Oh, gosh.
Just awful.
Yeah, just imagine dealing with that every day.
I know, it's hard to even fathom.
Yeah, and that's just, one instance. We also have this research paper, The Hidden Scars of Workplace Bullying by Dr. Jennifer Lee, and it goes deep into the long-term effects of this kind of behavior.
Oh,
It
yeah.
can lead to things like, decreased self-esteem, anxiety, even depression.
Wow.
It's not just about feeling uncomfortable in the moment. It really wears a person down.
Yeah, it's that erosion of self-worth that's so damaging.
Absolutely.
And we have to remember that on top of all of this, Mia was also dealing with homelessness.
Right.
So she's already in a very vulnerable position.
Exactly. And this kind of treatment just compounds those struggles.
For sure, the sources really paint this picture of her feeling like a total outsider. You're constantly on edge, never quite fitting in.
It's
It is. And it's important to understand that this isn't just, typical workplace unpleasantness we all experience sometimes. This is about the impact on her mental and emotional state.
Yeah, a much deeper level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've got this young woman facing these seemingly insurmountable obstacles, but then there's this interesting turn of events, right?
Yeah, things take a very unexpected turn.
Barron Trump.
Yes, Barron Trump's visit to the restaurant becomes this pivotal moment in Mia's story.
Okay.
According to Thompson's article, Barron and his security detail, they were just there for a quiet dinner. And you can imagine, Mia is incredibly anxious about serving someone so high profile.
Oh, I bet she was terrified of messing up.
Exactly, terrified of making some kind of mistake and, becoming the target of even more ridicule.
It's like she was always bracing herself for that next negative encounter.
All the time living on edge.
So what happened with Barron? The sources mentioned some kind of intervention.
Okay, so there's this really dramatic scene described in the article, and we also have a witness testimony in our source material. Okay, so picture this. The kitchen is a complete mess, orders are piling up, and in all the chaos, Mia accidentally drops a plate.
Oh, no.
And of course, this gives the line cook another opportunity to just humiliate her.
Oh, I don't even want to know what he said.
It's bad, according to the witness. He yells out, "Seriously, you can't even handle a salad. What are you even doing here?"
Oh, my gosh.
And to make matters worse, another coworker chimes in and says, maybe if she could talk without stuttering, she wouldn't mess everything up.
Just awful.
It was a blatant display of cruelty.
But this is when Barron steps in, right?
Yes, and it's a really pivotal moment.
Okay.
So Barron, who'd been watching this whole thing unfold, he calmly but firmly intervenes.
Okay.
He addresses the whole kitchen staff and says, "Enough, is this how you treat your team?" And the sources describe this sudden silence falling over the entire kitchen. The laughter stops, and everyone's attention is on Barron.
Wow, it's interesting that it wasn't some big outburst.
Yeah.
It was this quiet but firm, assertion of authority.
Yeah, that shifted the power dynamic.
Right. I'm curious about the impact of this. Did it, immediately change the work environment?
Not completely. Thompson's article suggests that while Barron's intervention stopped the immediate harassment, the undercurrent of toxicity remained.
Ah.
However, for Mia, this act of support had a profound impact.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Lee's research emphasizes that even small gestures of validation, especially from someone in a position of power,
Right.
can be so empowering for someone facing adversity.
Okay.
It can be a real catalyst for change.
So in a way, Barron inadvertently gave Mia permission to start believing in herself again.
Exactly. His action planted this seed of hope, and it sparked a series of positive changes in her life, which we'll explore more in part 2 of this deep dive.
When we left off, Barron Trump had just intervened at the restaurant, standing up for Mia. And it seemed like that act of support really had a big impact on her mindset.
Yeah, it really did. Sarah Thompson's article, Second Chances, From Kitchen Chaos to Culinary Triumph, mentions that not long after that whole incident, Mia started seeing a therapist, Dr. Monroe. And this is a really crucial point in her journey because therapy gave her that safe space, to process all the trauma she'd been through and to start developing some coping mechanisms for dealing with her stutter and the negativity she was facing in work.
Right, so therapy was this turning point for her.
Yeah.
But did she keep working at the restaurant? I mean, it must have been hard to go back there after everything.
You would think, wouldn't you? But the restaurant continued to be a pretty challenging environment for Mia, even after Barron stepped in.
Really, the sources make it sound like the overall atmosphere was still really negative.
Yeah, they do. We looked at some online reviews and forum discussions about the place, and it seems like the toxic culture was pretty deeply ingrained.
That's so unfortunate. It's like a classic example of a toxic workplace being so hard to change.
Absolutely.
So how did Mia cope with this, while she was also going to therapy?
Well, this is where we see her resilience and determination really shine through.
Oh,
Alongside the therapy, she throws herself into culinary training. The sources suggest that she always loved cooking, but now she's pursuing it with this newfound passion and purpose.
like she found an outlet.
Exactly, a way to channel all her energy into something positive.
Did her coworkers pick up on this change in her?
Oh, they did. Thompson's article describes this scene where one of Mia's coworkers, the same one who made those awful comments about her stutter, he actually says something about her new confidence.
No way. What did he say?
He says, look at you, Miss High and Mighty All Chummy with Barron Trump. Think you're too good for us now.
Ugh, classic.
Right, talk about resentment and bitterness towards someone else's growth.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
When people start making positive changes, it can trigger those around them, especially if they haven't dealt with their own issues.
Absolutely.
So how did Mia handle this negativity?
From what we can tell from the source material, she didn't engage in arguments or try to defend herself.
Okay.
She stayed focused on her own growth and creating a better life for herself regardless of their negativity.
It shows real emotional maturity.
For sure, a commitment to self-improvement.
And it seems like Barron Trump continued to be a part of her life during this time.
He did. According to Thompson's article and some social media posts we found, Barron stayed in touch with Mia, offering encouragement and even visiting her at the Culinary Institute.
Wow.
He also introduced her to Rebecca, this mentor figure from his foundation who provided guidance and support.
Okay, so she's got this growing network of support
Right.
helping her through all these challenges.
Yeah, and staying focused on her goals.
It's amazing how one act of kindness can create such a ripple effect.
It really is. It highlights the importance of fostering those supportive relationships and creating spaces where people feel safe to grow and express themselves.
Absolutely. And speaking of expressing herself, there's this major event that happens during this period that pushes Mia even further out of her comfort zone.
You were talking about the gala, right?
Yeah, I was reading about that in the sources. Barron Trump's foundation hosts this annual gala, and Mia was invited to speak.
That's right. Imagine just a few months earlier, Mia was struggling to even communicate basic orders at the restaurant because of her stutter and the constant fear of being ridiculed.
Right.
And now she's being asked to speak at this high-profile event.
That must have been terrifying. Was she even considering it?
Initially, she was really hesitant. Public speaking was like her biggest fear.
I get it.
But with encouragement from Rebecca, her therapist, Dr. Monroe, and Barron himself, she decides to face her fear head on.
Wow. Talk about growth.
Right? It's incredible how far she'd come in such a short amount of time.
Do we know how she prepared for this?
Yeah, Thompson's article mentions that Dr. Monroe worked with Mia to develop strategies for managing her anxiety and stutter, and she also practiced her speech a lot with Rebecca, who gave her feedback.
Sounds like a solid support system.
So how did the speech go?
I'm on the edge of my seat here.
It went really well, actually. Multiple news articles and social media posts described Mia's speech as incredibly moving. She spoke really candidly about her experiences with homelessness, her stutter, the bullying, and her vulnerability just resonated with everyone in the audience.
That's so powerful.
It was, and many people were even moved to tears.
By sharing her story, she was not only empowering herself, but also inspiring so many others.
Exactly, and that's a really important takeaway from this part of Mia's journey. It highlights the power of vulnerability.
Okay.
By opening up and sharing our struggles, we connect with people on a deeper level and create this sense of community and hope.
So we've seen Mia transform from this timid, insecure young woman into this confident, articulate speaker who's using her voice to make a real difference.
It's amazing, isn't it, what happens next?
We'll find out in the final part of this deep dive. Last time we saw Mia deliver this incredibly moving speech at Barron Trump's foundation gala, sharing her story and inspiring so many people.
It really seemed like she was, finally free from the negativity of her past and on this amazing path to success.
Right, but as we delve deeper into the sources, we discover there's another twist in her journey.
Yeah, things aren't always as they seem.
So you mentioned some unresolved issues with the restaurant. What happened?
Well, according to Thompson's article, Mia got this unexpected phone call from Emily, a waitress at the restaurant.
Okay.
And Emily describes this really bleak situation at work, saying things had gotten even worse since Mia left.
Oh, no.
Yeah, staff being mistreated, hours, cut wages, stagnant, just this overall sense of, demoralization.
That's heartbreaking to hear, especially after everything Mia went through there.
It is. So why do you think Emily reached out to Mia specifically? Was she just venting or?
I mean, she must have seen Mia as a symbol of hope, right?
Exactly. She saw someone who had escaped that toxic environment and made something of herself.
Someone who could maybe help.
Right.
That must have been a really tough position for Mia to be in.
Oh, absolutely. On one hand, she'd worked so hard to move on from that chapter of her life.
But on the other, she understood exactly what they were going through.
Precisely. And that's the internal conflict that comes out in the sources, especially Mia's personal journal entries, which were later published in her memoir.
Right.
She was battling feelings of guilt, responsibility, and a desire to help, but also this hesitation to go back to that place.
Yeah, I bet going back to that restaurant would bring up so many painful memories.
For sure. So what did she do?
Well, the sources say she decided to do something pretty amazing.
Lay it on me.
She decided to take action.
What kind of action?
She went to Barron Trump with a bold proposition to buy the restaurant.
Wow, what a huge step.
Right. It would give her the power to create real lasting change. But it's a big financial risk, too.
What did Barron think?
Well, according to Thompson's article and some interviews with Barron himself, he was definitely taken aback by Mia's ambition at first.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But after hearing her explain her vision for the restaurant, he agreed to back her.
That's amazing. It really speaks to his character.
It does. So did they actually go through with it?
They did. With Barron's support and Mia at the helm, they bought the restaurant.
I can only imagine what the employees must have thought.
Oh, I bet it was a mix of shock skepticism and maybe a little bit of hope.
Here they are stuck in this awful work environment, and suddenly their old coworker is the new boss.
Talk about a power shift.
And she's partnered with Barron Trump.
It must have felt surreal.
Did everyone embrace the change?
Well, not right away. Some people were resistant, especially the line cook who had been so cruel to Mia.
Oh, no, I bet he had something to say about it.
It did. He actually made this snarky comment like, "Look at you, Miss Big Shot, coming back here with your fancy friends, think you can fix this place overnight."
Oh, he did not.
Yeah, pretty typical response to change, right? Even if it's for the better.
So how did Mia handle that?
She handled it really well. She didn't get into any power struggles or try to force her vision on anyone.
Okay.
She just focused on creating a positive, supportive work environment.
What did that look like?
Fair wages, opportunities for professional development, and most importantly, treating everyone with respect.
Those are such fundamental principles, but especially crucial when you're trying to rebuild a workplace culture.
Exactly. So did these changes make a difference?
According to Thompson's article, there was a remarkable transformation.
Really?
Employee morale went way up, customer service improved, and the food, which had always been good, got even better.
A win-win situation.
Exactly. And then word got out about Mia's journey, from bullied employee to empowered owner.
That's a great story.
It is. And people were so inspired by her resilience and her commitment to creating a better workplace.
So what happened?
The restaurant, which they renamed Chances Beastro, became a symbol of hope and transformation.
Love that.
I know. But there was one final challenge Mia had to overcome.
Oh no, what happened?
This disgruntled former employee filed a false complaint against Mia, accusing her of unethical practices.
Oh wow, that's terrible.
It really threatened to destroy her reputation and everything she'd worked so hard to build.
That's so unfair. Did the complaint go anywhere?
Luckily, no Barron Trump, being the amazing guy that he is, immediately launched an investigation.
Good for him.
And the truth came up pretty quickly. The complaint was totally baseless.
I'm so glad to hear that false accusations can be so damaging.
They can, especially with social media these days.
Right, it spreads like wildfire.
So how did Mia deal with all this?
She was definitely shaken, but she stayed strong and focused on clearing her name.
That takes courage.
It does, and what's really incredible is that she had this huge outpouring of support from the community, her employees, her customers, everyone rallied behind her.
That's really heartwarming. It shows you the power of the community she'd built.
It does, and it also led to this beautiful moment of reconciliation with the line cook who'd given her such a hard time in the past.
Oh, wow.
He actually apologized to Mia, acknowledging his behavior and expressing how much he admired her.
That's amazing.
It is. He even gave her this handmade necklace engraved with the word hope.
What a powerful gesture.
It really was. It showed that he understood the impact of his actions and was truly remorseful.
So ultimately, Second Chances Bistro became this place of healing and growth.
And second chances.
Exactly. Not just for the employees, but for everyone.
That's beautiful.
Mia's story is such a testament to the power of resilience and speaking up against injustice.
And the importance of second chances.
Absolutely. We started with this young woman facing all these challenges, and now she's thriving.
A successful entrepreneur, a compassionate leader, and an inspiration to us all.
It really makes you think, what choices would you have made if you were in Mia's shoes?
That's a great question. How can we all learn from her journey and be a force for positive change in our own communities?
Even in small ways, you know?
Exactly. We hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought, some inspiration, and maybe a little bit of hope that no matter what challenges we face, transformation and second chances are always possible.